we'll go out to the Daily Shot line and bring in our friend Billy Stetson, who owns two great businesses, the Rumble Seat Bar, where I spent a significant portion of money that I made over a few years, and the Collegian Court Restaurant in Chicopee, Massachusetts. Hey, Billy, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
We're doing great, man. How are you?
Good. I hope I don't sound like I'm in a paint can as well. That was.
Oh, you sound fantastic, actually.
You sound outstanding. So
Sure.
where are you right now? Are you at one of the restaurants, or what are you doing?
I'm on my empty patio at the Rumble Seat, and we opened up last week for to-go orders, and we're just kind of managing that during the day. We close at 9 o'clock, and we open up 5 days a week over at the Collegian Court for to-go as well.
That's great. So now Rumble Seat was closed for a few weeks altogether?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 weeks. We got closed down on March 16th. I don't know if that's my phone. I don't think so. But
no, I think you're
that
fine.
was the paint can.
Yeah. So I was closed down March 16th, the eve before St. Patrick's Day, and we opened back up this past Tuesday. So whatever that is, that's about 4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks. Wow.
We got the payroll protection loan, but it didn't work out kind of the way we had hoped. Or they moved the first down marker on that a few times from the time we signed up for it, from the time that it was actually implemented. So we kind of get screwed on that. All the businesses that are coming on board now with the payroll protection are in way better shape than the businesses that were signed up first.
Oh,
and that's because they're actually going to have work at some point when they're going to have their employees working, so they'll be able to have a couple of months of full employment or mostly full employment of their staff while they make some extra money, whereas we have like 10% of our employment making, 10% of our profit for 8 weeks. So it really isn't going to help out the hospitality business too much.
So take me through the first couple of weeks of this. We kind of all went through, I think, a similar thing where we knew there was trouble on the horizon, and it started looking more and more acute, and all of a sudden the hammer came down. How tough has this been for you as a business owner?
Oh, it's awful. I mean, it makes you rethink of all the risk you take going into business. That first night here in Chicopee is a lot more strict than our neighboring towns and cities. Chicopee has the mandatory face mask rules right now, and that first March 16th, Chicopee actually had police driving around making sure at midnight you had nobody left in your bars. So you could just drive over to Springfield and drink till, the sun came up. But we didn't think it would last as long as it did, and now I think it's going to last longer than it's kind of being advertised as. So I'm making the best of it. We're donating a lot of food. We're doing the best we can for the community here. We've done a bunch of stuff. We partnered up with the Chicopee Police Department tomorrow. We're serving lunch over at the Bay State Medical Center. They're going to do a parade for all the first responders and the frontline workers over at Bay State. So Chicopee Police and Fire are teaming up to do that. They called me up, asked me to help out on the food side. So we'll be over there tomorrow. So just trying to stay active in the community, keeping people positive, but at the same time, very nervous about kind of the state we're in and the direction we're going as a state. I was pretty disheartened to hear the governor today, his announcement. So it's tough, and it's not getting any. I keep in contact with a lot of other business owners, especially in my business, and everybody is universally disappointed with the governor's statement today. And one thing, there's a few different perspectives here, and we want to keep everyone safe. And I hate kind of the idea that you can't have a difference in opinion on when we should open and how we should open. And as soon as you say that, all of a sudden you want to murder everybody in America. I think it's reasonable think that golf courses, for example, could be open in the state of Massachusetts when they're open in New York and Connecticut. And that's the first step. And we're not even getting there here in Massachusetts. So I don't know where this recovery even starts, to be honest with you.
Hey, Billy, Dan Gadboy's here. I hope you can hear me all right now.
That's much better.
Just to ask, obviously takeout's a big part of your business, but what does this hurt percentage-wise for you? Are you down 20% versus last year, 80% versus last year? How big of an impact has this had on you?
Oh, I mean, I'm down 95% at the Cleveland Court, and another probably 93% at the Rumble seat. It's basically brought my business down to nothing.
Right. So that's hurt. And now you don't do Grubhub or Uber at those, right?
No. You know what? My margins are so small here. Like Grubhub and Uber Eats takes 30% of your food, so they take 30% of your profit. So for me, where I operate, I think you know from being here that we operate on really low margins on the food side, and we make money on the beer side. So
right.
we have a lot of traffic through here. We're probably the second busiest bar by volume in Western Mass, and we rely on kind of cheap food prices to keep a regular neighborhood bar in the city of Chicopee with a median income of $44,000 a year, keep it rolling.
So this narrative that we can do to go and we can stay open and we can survive on delivery, it's really not accurate, correct? Like we need to get back to in-house dining for this industry to survive.
Oh yeah, that's totally correct. There's a tiny the chain restaurants are doing really good. Drive-throughs, I mean, Chick-fil-A is like a monster. Chipotle is a really busy place. Like all those places that had huge advertising budgets and they're big corporate kind of places are going to be stronger even through this. But places like mine that are family owned, that rely on neighborhood people walking in, it's a death sentence, to be honest with you. Every week that they extend this, and you can see in other parts of the world and other parts of the country, kind of some things they can do to allow places. Like I've got a huge patio, and I don't see why I couldn't have people on our patio at a proper distance, 6 feet apart.
You might have the best patio in West.
Fresh air.
Not to interrupt you, which is awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places that have that. And so you start with, but if you're not even going to let people go on a golf course, which is like 150 acres with 12 people on it, like if you're not going to allow that, then we're never going to get out of the gates here. We're going to be, and I think you guys need to kind of think, and when I say you guys, I think people that have a quorum, the question needs to kind of change. It needs to be, what is our goal in the distancing? Because the goal, from my understanding, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the goal when we started this was that we were really worried about the emergency rooms being overwhelmed, right? Wasn't that the whole reason for the distancing? And we saw about 1,000 graphs of curves. I thought I was in junior high again. I was looking at graphs and lines, and so that was the goal, right? We were just trying, and then we started to get some data. We started to see who's really at risk. We started to realize that if you're under 50 years old, statistically, you really have no risk. It's like similar risk to being struck by lightning, to dying from this. And then if you're over 80, especially if you're in one of these nursing homes and you've got a do not resuscitate order on your door, so you're not going to be put on a ventilator, then you're huge risk, like really, really high risk. So now that we've got that information, I think we should be making some different decisions. And unfortunately, you've got a governor who wants to become a senator someday or run for president. So he's going to be so cautious, like overly cautious. He doesn't want to make the wrong move more than anything else. And I don't want anyone extra to die, but I think the virus isn't going to have a vaccine for over a year. It's going to be with us. It's going to spread around. Eventually, everyone is going to get a touch of it somehow. And it just matters that our emergency rooms are not overloaded. I thought that's where we started with this. I don't know if people are are people just expecting to never get this? Is that why we're wiping things down, or did we? I thought we started where we just didn't want this to spread like rapidly and overload our healthcare system.
Cam,
Tell
I
me
swear
where I'm
I
wrong.
did not pay him. I didn't pay Billy for this, although I might go to Rumble Seat tonight
Teed
and
up.
get some Gold Fever pizza. I swear I'm not paying for this.
Teed up right just for you. No, I think everybody saw what happened in Italy, and they panicked. You know, they saw the triaging happening in Italy. They saw the overrunning of the hospitals, and I think everybody sort of just panicked here and said, you know, we're not built for it, so let's stop it before it happens. But you know, it turns out we're doing a lot better.
So,
unless you're in New York City.
So that was 6 weeks ago, right? And we kind of weathered that. And let's keep in mind, Italy was overwhelmed in 2017 with like the flu. They didn't have enough emergency rooms. So Italy is a poor comparison. But that was 6 weeks ago. Let's talk about now. Like, we knew about that now. Like, why now are we ramping up all that distancing stuff even more? Like, that's what I want explained, really. Like, are we trying to eradicate this, which every single immunologist says you can't do it with the distancing? It's just not gonna work. We're not closing Home Depot. We're not closing Walmart. I mean, it's just not adding up to me. I think the first couple of weeks when we were really worried about this thing, and there was a lot of unknown. Absolutely, shut it down. Let's reset. Let's see where we are. But you can look at the numbers. They get published every night at midnight. I see them every morning. This morning I looked and I saw there was another drop in Massachusetts, and then they go on TV and the governor says we're closed down, longer. So it doesn't seem like the
Billy,
data.
You're exactly right. It's the same thing that I've been saying. I don't see what the governor sees, and I understand the position that he's in, but he doesn't seem to understand two things. He doesn't even seem to understand that the nursing homes in Massachusetts became a killing field for this, and he doesn't seem to understand that businesses like yours can't afford for this to go on open-ended. Let me ask you a question. In reality, how long can you keep your restaurant and your bar open under these conditions?
Well, with the payroll protection right now, I don't have a labor cost for this week and the next 7 weeks. So, minus some payroll taxing stuff. But so a lot of my expense is being written off by the government right now, which I think is great. I really appreciate it from you guys. But that's not the way you can operate a country. There's like a whole country of businesses that the labor is being paid for by taxpayers. We don't have the money as a country to do that. And I guess if we're just going to live our whole lives in massive debt to China, that's where we're going. I really think the question on what is the goal of the distancing, that really has to be specifically answered by people who say, okay, let's just be safe. And, it's all over Facebook, and I'm not going to be a contrarian to any of my customers or people like that on Facebook, but I really want to know, are people waiting for the vaccine? Is that like you guys don't have agreeing opinions with each other? So the opposite side of that, are you waiting for the vaccine to open the country up? Tell me what the wait is.
Yeah, I don't think people can wait for that. I think that the reality is people are scared, and I think the media is driven to fear at this point. So, I think we've got to push past that. I think their narrative has to change on a national level. But Billy, my question for you, too, as a restaurateur, what does the other side of this look like for you? Do you think we're going to see plexiglass in restaurants? Are we going to see ketchup bottles and salt shakers gone? Are we going to disposable menus? What does the other side of this look like? Whether it's 3 months, 6 months, hopefully not a year from now. What does that look like?
Well, the places that have already started to reopen in Europe, the way that they've been doing it, which is probably the way it'll be modeled, and some places down south I think are going to start doing it, is you basically tape off at a bar. Like, I've got 14 seats at my bar at the Rumble seat. You have to literally put an X on the chairs that nobody can sit in, and you'll have someone from the health department come in and spread everything around. Now, long term, like 6 months, I'm scared to even look at that. I'm more worried about just getting like open the door a little bit. For my occupancy in here is like 240. I'd be happy with like 20 people, like literally just spread them out. And trust me, the people will come.
Right.
The people will come to a place like this. Like the Collegian Court, for example, is a different place because it's much older crowd. Over there, it's going to be, and it's a banquet facility. We do 3 to 5 bereavement type baby shower things every week, and really the regulation on that is going to be really, really tricky, because if you've got a family coming in for a rehearsal dinner, that's 30 or 40 people. They're all together. They're technically at one table, but what are the restrictions going to look like? I don't think you're going to go to all paper plates and plastic and that. I don't think that's going to happen. But you got a good question. Like 6 months from now, every industry, how much does this change? I mean, should it have already been like that because of the potential? I don't have a good answer for that, but I think we're going to go very, very slowly. And a lot of I think it's going to start down south. You're going to see whether or not there's another big spike when these places down south open up. And then we'll probably kind of get a reaction. You'll either get the I told you so's that say, look, it went up 10% in Georgia or Florida or wherever, and then everything's going to get shut down again. Or things aren't that bad, and then you can't keep a state next to another state closed because you lose all the business. Like New Hampshire is ready to open up. Is it fair for New Hampshire that they don't open because of Boston? If you owned a restaurant in New Hampshire or any kind of business in New Hampshire and you're closed down with very little death, and they're saying, well, we don't want to open up because Massachusetts isn't opened up yet. I mean, how does that feel for someone paying taxes in New Hampshire?
What about the other side of this? How is your supply chain working out? Are you able to still get deliveries in? Are you able to get produce and perishable? Are you having any issues with that?
No, there's just been a little backlog on a couple meat products here and there, but nothing's come down the chain yet. When you see all the closings nationwide of the big protein houses, I haven't seen much of that down the line. And actually, like, we've had toilet paper right along and paper towels and stuff like that. Like, we've been giving them away, to be honest with you, with orders. So I think I know early on there was people critical of even having curbside to go, but I don't think people understand that that's a whole nother distribution chain that helps the grocery stores from being overwhelmed.
Yeah. Hey, Billy, I think this is great perspective. I'd love to catch up with you again at some point. I'll come into the bar actually and pick up a pizza, and I can tell you what I really think about the governor. You can tell me. Hey, real quick, I saw on Twitter you guys are doing, which is something new in Massachusetts, some takeout with booze. So if you come and pick up your food, you got craft beer, you got some special on pizza today.
Yeah, that's right. We do 25% pizza on every Tuesday, and we are selling our beers to go at kind of liquor store kind of prices. It has helped a little bit on the, the final bill. We'd much rather have you sitting at the bar, though, cracking that open and watching stocks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'd rather be there too, man. Well, hey, listen, Billy Stetson from the Rumble Seat and the Collegian Court in Chicopee, Mass. We're going to hold it there. We appreciate the perspective, man. It's interesting to me when you talk to people who are in these situations, Dan, and I think you and then Cam on the supply side, you guys really nailed it. I mean, there's a lot of complexity here. There's a lot on the line. These are small businesses that people have been running and are keeping afloat right now. I mean, you heard him say he's 90% down versus last year. I don't know how you sleep at night.